Planet Earth. Previously, a great war contaminated the entire world and snuffed all life out of it, save for one exception. Inside a secure habitat, a cyborg asks his mother if she will not change her mind. Addressing him as Noah, she reminds him she is obligated to remain on Earth, since it is her fault that the planet ended up like this, and she cannot just run away by herself. He counters that it wasn't her fault, but she insists it is her responsibility. As he relents, she tries to cheer him up by reminding him he's about to take off to a new world, noting how exciting it must be, and exalting its flourishing nature and intelligent life forms. Winking as she tells him to remember his manners as an alien. She then asks if he plans to go there with that body, offering to change him into a newer model, but he insists on keeping the old one since it was the first one she gave him. The woman then recalls some motherly advice she gave him about never allowing himself to be swayed by what he sees, and etching his memories in his heart. Seeing his sadness, she keeps trying to cheer him up, embracing him, and telling him that she is his mother, and no matter how far away he is, she will always be watching over him. Embracing him, she declares that she will never stop loving him even after she dies. Embracing her in turn, Noah tells her that he will always love her as well. And so he departed from Earth and headed towards a faraway world. Arriving at their destination, the vessel initiated the touchdown sequence and descended through the planet's atmosphere, landing safely in a valley. Ark, the ship's AI, wakes Noah up from his 50,000-year-long cryo-sleep slumber. The cyborg stretches and puts on his jersey, and before having breakfast, he climbs to the roof of the ship to take a look outside. Absorbing the breathtaking landscape of this new world, he asks Ark to bring out his old bike, wishing to do some surveillance around the landing site. The AI suggests sending a search robot to do the task, but Noah considers it far more interesting if he does it by himself. Leaving the ship in Ark's care, Noah climbs onto his bike and rides into the forest. He confirms that the ecosystem is widely different from that of Earth, observing the many odd creatures around him, until he notices a group of transparent blobs on the ground, wondering if they're even living beings. Picking a slime up, he notes its lack of intelligence and tries catching it. Afterwards, he found a whole bounty of mysterious creatures, including a living flame, aka a fire demon, steel-scaled monitor lizards that breathe out fire, aka dragons, and bipedal pigs. At first glance, these creatures don't have any uniformity among them, but at the end of his investigation, Noah found they were all created with an unknown energy stored in an organ. It is this organ that allows them to move in a body without bones and muscles, and do structurally impossible things like fly and breathe out fire. Analyzing these mysterious creatures, he feels that the organ is not part of the evolution of those species, and it looks as though it was artificially attached to them, though he fears he may be overthinking. Meanwhile, a girl with goat-like horns and strange arms runs for her life in the forest, clutching a wound on her side, as she desperately seeks for help for her father and the others before it's too late. Emerging from the thicket, she comes face to face with the towering spaceship that wasn't there before. The ship's door opens, and Noah exits the vessel wearing slippers. The girl, never having seen anything like him before and noting he is not human, asks about his identity and the nature of the building behind him. Surprised to understand her, he wonders if the translation device is functioning, or if her language is similar to that of the Earth. He proceeds to introduce himself as Noah Yesterday, asking in turn who the girl is and why she came here. She begins to explain that she was running away, when she collapses to the ground. Noticing the nasty wound on her side, the cyborg orders Ark to give her medical treatment, telling the girl to stay still, while the robot uses its arm to disinfect and seal the injury. Surprised by this, the girl insists on asking who he is, but Noah senses the place is too dangerous to talk, inviting her to come aboard the ship and have some food while they talk. After some time, Noah sums up all the girl told him while she continues to eat takoyaki. Humans and demons are separated, with the latter being oppressed. Her father, the Demon King, hid from the humans until he was finally caught, while she somehow managed to escape. She explains that she got injured when her pursuers caught up to her and fought, though she won in the end. She does not know why the humans oppress her kind, though things weren't that bad decades earlier, and it was only once the humans were under the rule of someone called the Pope that they changed. Noah processes this, recalling that his mother told him about the human tendency of discriminating against the different species and increasing their ruling power, concluding that humans are foolish even on this planet. The girl asks him if he truly came from another universe and used magic to heal her, though he corrects her, stating he came from a different planet, and magic played no part in her treatment. Rising from her bench, she insists that only magic could do something like that, and declares herself to be a magic user. She then proceeds to create a fireball as a demonstration. Noah analyzes this through his sensors, noticing the phenomenon is caused by the vital energy unique to this planet. finding her ability to use it and perform something skillful truly fascinating. He explains that Earth doesn't possess magic, and wonders if the demons cannot resist against the humans with their power. "It's impossible," is the girl's blunt reply. The humans are able to use the same magic as them, and possess overwhelming numbers. Furthermore, mankind has some individuals called heroes who are 100 times more powerful than the average human, and even if the demons banded together, they would not stand a chance against them, and their ability to freely manipulate lightning and flames. Noah is unimpressed by their power, concluding he may actually be stronger than them even with his old model body. Not fully understanding what he meant by that last part, the girl nevertheless asks him to help them with his strength, even offering a reward, but he accepts before she can even name it. He explains that he cannot abstain from helping her after everything she told him, and the surprised girl accepts. He puts one condition, however, and asks the now suspicious girl if she would be his friend. She is surprised by this, and though she doesn't deny the request, Noah can clearly notice her hesitation. He asks if there would be an issue with them being friends, and the bashful girl finally admits that it would be her first time having friends. Though the cyborg figured she would have a lot of friends, everyone she knows feels more like family, so she doesn't know what it means to have a friend. This is a first for Noah as well, since he never spoke to anyone other than his mother, and despite finding that odd, the girl agrees to be friends, and introduces herself as Ellie Clydall, extending her hand to greet him. In a flashback, Noah recalls the first time he met his mother, his mangled body being suspended in a tank, as she proposed that name for him and asked if he liked it. He then shakes Ellie's hand and greets her, laughing in the process. She asks him about it and becomes embarrassed when he comments he didn't expect his first friend to be such a beauty. She wants nothing to do with his flattery, but he insists and admires the shape of her horns, grabbing them and earning a beating in response. His mother told him it was normal to hug and kiss friends, and expected to do so from the beginning, but the angry demon tells him otherwise. As he apologizes, Noah inwardly tells his mother about his first friend. He is glad he came to this planet, and wonders if she's watching over him even at this moment. Planet Earth, a few days after Noah departed. Ark informs Noah's mother Eve that the cyborg has entered cryosleep. She then orders the AI to leave the chip circling the solar system, which it confirms, while asking if it is really for the best. She remains steadfast, not wanting to give Noah any unnecessary concerns, and wants him to lead his own life. Besides, this is her responsibility. She then declares that things are going to get busy around there, since it is time to remake Planet Earth, as multiple fantasy creatures remain in stasis within her laboratory. In a Planet of the Apes level plot twist, Eve begins Project Reincarnation. Ellie stands on the spaceship's balcony, surprised that it can fly. Noah then arrives, informing her that they're a few minutes away from their destination. The demon girl claims not to be worried, being fully confident in her father's ability to overcome any tough situation, but her face tells a different story. Meanwhile, the Overlord's castle is under siege, its magical shield beginning to crack under the constant barrage of magical attacks launched by the human mages outside. In the throne room, a demon named Solst informs the Overlord about the barrier's imminent collapse, and reports that all his subjects have been safely evacuated underground. Thanking him, the demon tells his aide to make his escape as soon as possible, before it is too late for him to do so. But Solst has made up his mind. He has chosen to stay and serve under Beryl to the end. The Overlord will have none of it, having already pointed out that without him there would be no one to support the young and inexperienced Ellie as the next Overlord. With a begrudging expression, the aide finally relents, and his liege proceeds to instruct him to bury him next to his wife when he falls. Suddenly remembering that he will not have a body left, he proceeds to sever a piece of one of his horns and fling it to Solst, telling him to put it in his grave and bidding him farewell, preparing to use his self-exploding magic to wipe out everything in the region. Not knowing if the underground will survive the blast, he tells him to flee before the humans reach that area, and to have all combatants put up a defensive barrier. With tears in his eyes, the loyal demon acknowledges Lord Beryl's command, and hopes that they will meet again, and his liege humors him, hoping that they meet again and become great friends from that point onwards. As the castle continues to shudder, the Overlord wonders if Ellie made it out safely, talking to his deceased wife Elena, and noting that their daughter's just like her. Seeing the portrait of himself wearing pants, shirt, and tie along with his family, he notes it won't be too long before he meets his wife and son Zell. He reassures her, noting that his loyal subjects will take care of the rest, and he only wishes to see Ellie one last time. Outside, the human mages continue their offensive from the bridge leading to the castle. Their captain instructs them to storm the building as soon as the barrier is down, giving them free rein to exterminate anyone inside besides the Overlord, who is to be captured alive. One of his men then interrupts him, and the annoyed officer turns to see what the man is pointing at, staring in awe and disbelief as Noah's starship appears floating above the Overlord's castle. Looking down from the balcony, the cyborg notes they've arrived just in time, and stepping on the rail, prepares to descend into the fray. Ellie tells him to be careful, but Noah is fully confident in his power as he leaps down. The human mages do not know how to respond to the massive vessel floating before them, and desperately ask their commander for orders. He tells them not to get flustered, believing the ship to be an illusory magic created by the demons to confuse them, ordering them to press on with their assault. With a loud thump, Noah comes crashing down on the bridge behind him, and the captain turns in confusion to face this new threat, not knowing what's going on. Emerging from the cloud of dust, Noah politely addresses the humans, and asks them to promptly leave the castle. A mage asks his commander if the newcomer is an illusion as well, and the man commands them to continue attacking, believing that everything will be fine if they take the new foe out along with the rest of the demons. The mages acknowledge the command and assume battle stances, proceeding to launch several simultaneous magical attacks toward Noah. Without even flinching, Noah raises his hand, deploying 2 shield projectors, which immediately raise a powerful barrier that absorbs the incoming attacks with ease. The mages are taken aback by the sudden disappearance of their attacks, but they have little time to think before Noah goes on the offensive. He then sends Ark the code 002, upon which the AI transfers the 1000 blaster weapon to him. The weapon begins to take shape, turning Noah's right arm into a powerful arm cannon, and the cyborg locks onto multiple mages, instructing Ark to make slight adjustments to the projectiles so they do not kill them. He is counting on this, being fully aware of the ability of humans to destroy a planet fueled by the resentment of having their allies killed. The captain is unfamiliar with this technology, and orders his mages to concentrate their fire on Noah and melt him down. No sooner have they acknowledged the order than they come face to face with Noah's overwhelming firepower. He fires a single shot towards the sky, with the projectile splitting into multiple individual warheads that seek and strike the mages in non-lethal areas with pinpoint accuracy, giving them incapacitating flesh wounds and effectively putting them out of combat. Noah looks at the wounded men groaning on the floor, surprised that that was all it took to win. Meanwhile, the captain is dumbstruck by what he just witnessed. One of his soldiers informs him that though the attack did not result in any fatalities, almost all of their units have been rendered unfit for battle. Cursing, the officer finally accepts defeat and orders his men to retreat, planning to report on what happened to the heroes back home. Once the threat is over, Ellie descends from the ship and runs along the castle's corridors with Noah in tow. She tearfully embraces her father, glad to see that he is okay, while the sobbing Demon King is overjoyed to find his daughter has emerged unscathed from all of this. He then turns his attention to Noah, demanding to know who he is. Ellie properly introduces him as the one who saved her when she was in trouble, and the Overlord notes that he really helped him out big time, both with the human assault and taking care of Ellie. Smiling, Noah plays it down, noting that he would naturally lend a helping hand to the family of a person that he cherishes. Lord Beryl grows somber at that last bit, but Noah fails to notice, declaring Ellie to be someone that he cares about, only to find the Overlord looming menacingly above him. He dodges the demon's punch, surprised by his reaction, and wondering what he's doing. In response, the Overlord goes full dad mode, demanding to know what kind of relationship he has with his daughter, only easing up when Ellie explains that he means they're just friends. Still not trusting him, he asks if they really are just friends and there's nothing more than that. Sighing in relief as Ellie once again repeats they are just that. Suddenly, he throws another punch at the surprised Noah, accusing him of doing something to his daughter, and noting that he had never seen Ellie with such a lovely face. Embarrassed, the girl demands he cut it out, but Papa Demon declares that he will never acknowledge Noah, declaring him to be an incomprehensible exoskeleton species. Reappearing in the hall out of thin air, Solst notes on how his liege can be such a difficult case, apologizing to Noah for his outburst. He then politely introduces himself to the surprised cyborg as the Overlord's right-hand man, giving a courteous bow to the newcomer, and lamenting that his liege is acting in such a way even after Noah saved him. The cyborg doesn't mind, however, and observes the interaction between him and Ellie, noting that he really is a wonderful father. Watching them argue lovingly, he begrudgingly admits he's a little jealous about it. Thunderbolts pierce through the roof of the cathedral-like building of the heroes' camp. The captain that had commanded the unsuccessful attack on the Overlord's castle screams in agony, having been burnt to a crisp, and as his lifeless and singed corpse collapses on the ground, one of the terrified mages asks the hero before him what he has done. Bathed in light and emanating an aura of intense power, the hero throws the line right back at the mage, a cloak emblazoned with the cogwheel symbol of their religion draped over his shoulders. Furious, he lashes at them for shamelessly retreating when confronted by a mere demon, asking what that is supposed to mean. The terrified mage stutters as he tries to explain that they faced a demon they had never seen before, but the hero will have none of it. Staring at him coldly, he grabs the man by the throat, mocking the supposed elite warriors of the kingdom as he chokes him. Letting him go, the hero laments that this is happening just when they have finally received the Pope's blessings in the form of a series of sacred relics. Grabbing the pommel of the suspiciously high-tech sword strapped to his waist, he laments that such sacred treasures would get stained by the blood of those disgusting demons, smiling menacingly at the prospect of future carnage. With the ship floating overhead, the evacuation of the Demon Lord's castle proceeds smoothly. Noah instructs the demons to load their personal belongings and furniture onto the transport at the castle's courtyard, so it can be lifted to the ship, and Solst believes that they will be done in a few hours at the current pace. He is marveled by the automated transporter, believing it to be some kind of magic, and Noah decides to put aside the explanation of its true nature for a later occasion, wondering what they should do from then on. The Overlord points out that though they successfully avoided any imminent threat, it does not change the fact that the castle's location is now known by the humans, so he must now find another safe hideout as soon as possible. He doesn't have any leads, however, and passive-aggressively hopes that there could be a kind exoskeleton-looking demon out there generous enough to provide habitats for about 500 demons to live in. Ellie is annoyed by his indirect way of asking Noah for help, but the cyborg is fine with it, and can readily help them, since his ship can easily fit 1,000 people within it. He proposes that they stay in the ship, noting that they would be doing him a favor, since it is far too big for him to live in alone. The Demon King's eyes sparkle at this, and crossing his arms, he graciously accepts his request given the lengths he has gone to make the petition, much to his daughter's annoyance and Noah's amusement. As the loading process is nearing completion, Noah asks Solst if there's anything else that needs transporting. Right on cue, the cyborg hears Ellie yelling at her father, telling him it is impossible to transport something that big. As he approaches her, the girl tells Noah that her father is insisting on taking the family portrait with him, and watches as he lifts the massive art piece with his bare hands. Despite its size, the cyborg believes there shouldn't be any problem, but Ellie insists that her father just give it up already. He stubbornly refuses, noting the many memories that the portrait possesses. Sighing, Ellie reminds him that her mother always told him that the thing about memories is that you etch them right in your heart. Noah is shocked at hearing his mother's words come out of Ellie's mouth, and though he at first addresses her, he then changes his mind and brushes the matter off, changing the subject and telling her it wouldn't be a problem to move something as large as the painting. She goes to tell the good news to her father, reminding him to thank Noah properly, while the cyborg remembers his mother. But just as they prepare to move the painting, a stranger arrives at the castle bridge. The entire building trembles as it comes under assault once more, alarming Ellie and the Overlord. The barrier protecting the castle has been destroyed with a single hit, which is not something an average Joe could do, which could only mean that a hero has arrived. Not having expected that they would arrive so soon, Solst asks his liege what they should do. Telling him not to falter, the Overlord then turns to Noah, and tells him that he will leave his friends in his care, and will buy time for them, while they make their escape on his ship. Pausing at this request, the cyborg approaches Beryl and asks for a word, placing his hand on his shoulder before proceeding to tase him into unconsciousness in front of his shocked daughter. Smiling, Noah tells her that her father doesn't look like someone who would yield once he has decided on something, and that there is no need for him to put his life on the line, since he will fight the hero in his stead and win, being certain of his victory. Outside the main gate, the hero is surprised to see the building still standing, having intended to blast right through it with his very first attack. Believing he held back too much, he launches an even more powerful strike at the castle gate, but Noah intercepts it with his shield before it impacts. Swooshing the smoke away, he taunts the hero for attacking, and refraining from saying anything distasteful to him, he offers him to go away unscathed if he pulls back now. The hero is amused by this, asking if he truly believes he would lose to the likes of a demon, and is amused by the cyborg's certainty. The two then engage at breakneck speeds, and on that first clash, Noah takes a good look at the hero's weapon. He asks him how he got his hands on it, wondering if it was made by humans, and the hero angrily replies it is a sacred treasure made by God that was bestowed upon him by the Pope. He takes offense at the suggestion that the relic was made by humans, considering it an insult toward God. Noah is certain that the weapon was made by machinery, but based on the hero's attitude, he concludes that there's something odd about the humans on this planet. He then notes that the weapon may have been made by God, but goes on to consider that the deity's existence itself may be a farce. Enraged, the hero jumps to the sky and launches a powerful strike at Noah, atomizing a large section of the bridge where he stood. Noah has evaded the attack, however, and used his agility to swing behind the hero to strike him on the back. The hero anticipates this, however, and launches a flurry of slashes at the cyborg before it can close the distance, causing some damage. Both combatants note each other's skill, and the hero notes that out of respect towards his capabilities, he shall now release the full strength of the sacred treasure. Noah watches in shock as the hero grabs the weapon with both hands and imbues it with electricity, as a charging indicator begins to rise. Once the blade is fully charged, the hero lunges forward, declaring this will be Noah's defeat. The cyborg attempts to catch the blade with his arm, but the weapon slices cleanly through it. Noah is shocked. Pulling a bayonet from his other arm, Noah clashes once again with the hero, but is unable to block all of his attacks, with some tearing through his chest plating. Lunging forward, the hero prepares to deliver a killing blow, and a desperate Noah fires his hand cannon in an attempt to stop him. The man taunts him from within the smoke cloud, noting that he doesn't look too well after putting up that assertive act earlier, and the cyborg can now clearly see that this is beyond his expectations. Accepting his fate, he realizes he cannot stay selfish any longer, and signals Ark to prepare for transfer. The AI confirms the command, but asks if he is sure about it, noting the many memories that body holds for him. But Noah is certain, pointing out it is just an object and remembering his mother's words. The hero has no idea what's going on, believing he is making excuses about his loss, but the cyborg is oblivious to him and continues his monologue, noting that he should have done this immediately if he wished to concern himself with Ellie and the rest. Though he still had doubts back then, he is now ready to move forward. He opens his chest plate, revealing a glowing orb that he describes as his brain soul, which holds his compressed brain cells and thus his soul. The hero laughs at the notion of a demon possessing a soul, but Noah points out his obsession with his sword, and proceeds to teach him a lesson, repeating his mother's saying that memories are something you etch inside your soul. Taking those to be his last words, the hero moves in for the kill, shattering Noah's empty body just after the brain's soul has been transferred away. Noting the cyborg's bark was worse than his bite, the hero now turns to face the rest of the demons, but then turns an alarm as something crashes atop a pillar behind him. Ark informs that the transfer of the brain soul to a new body has been completed, and Noah comments that his new body really does make him feel calmer as he emerges from the dust cloud. The hero is shocked to see Noah alive, as the cyborg raises his fists and declares he will have to take him down for the sake of his friends. Still determined to cut him down, the hero draws his sword once more and dashes towards Noah at full speed. The pair exchange blows at breakneck speed once more, but this time the cyborg's improved body is more than capable of parrying every blow. The hero can't believe he didn't manage to cut him down even after unleashing the sacred treasure, but then realizes that Noah's body actually regenerates immediately after getting cut. The man attacks once more, planning on cutting him down until he cannot regenerate, focusing all of his attacks on one spot. Noah takes the hit and commends the deranged hero for doing that much, as his arm morphs into a powerful cannon. Placing his palm on the hero's chest, he decides to end the fight right there, firing at point-blank range and shattering the weird organ in his chest. Noah decides to spare him, since the organ's destruction has turned him into a powerless human, and claims the sacred treasure to do some investigation on it. With nothing left to say, he turns and leaves the shattered hero laying on the ground. Back at the castle, the demons cheer for the returning Noah, with a tearful Ellie embracing him with joy, having been concerned about his safety. Lord Beryl is furious at what he perceives as Noah flirting with his daughter, and the fact that he knocked him out, but lets him off the hook in view of what he did. And so, the first crisis Noah encountered upon coming to the planet has been solved. However, a few days later, Noah enters a ruined chamber, recognizing it as the place where he was born. Confused, he calls for his mother, certain that there is something happening on that planet. Solemnly, the overlord declares that they're going to visit the cemetery, with everyone in the ship's cafeteria falling silent at this new development. The room then erupts with yelling as the demons ask if it's that time of year already, fearing that will happen again, and asking their lord if they could compromise on tradition on this occasion. Lord Beryl is having none of it, however, and he declares that the tradition still continue as long as he is overlord. Curious about the ruckus, Noah asks the visibly embarrassed Ellie if visiting the cemetery is that detestable, and without uncovering her face, the girl replies that the trip isn't that big of a deal, but the tradition certainly is. Lord Beryl explains that the tradition consists of telling stories about those who passed away when they visit the cemetery, reminiscing about the old memories while walking towards their loved one's resting place. Though Noah believes this sounds like fun, Ellie quickly disabuses him of the notion, sorrowfully pointing out that every year they have to carry tons of stuff and the trip takes days to complete. This is particularly harsh, since the tradition entails that they're not allowed to use magic to carry their baggage. Sighing, the young demon concludes that the time has come for revolution. Dramatically standing atop a table with her skirt billowing in the wind, she raises her arm to the air as she declares a coup d'etat, or golpe de estado. Addressing the demons, she promises that once she becomes the overlord, she will proclaim that the tradition shall be abolished. Instead of the tedious journey, she will borrow Noah's trailer, and all of the demons will have a barbecue, thus turning the cemetery visit into a fun trip. Everyone falls silent for a moment at this sudden change of events, processing the princess's promises. One by one, the demons begin to rise from their seats and acknowledge Ellie as their new overlord. Dismayed, Lord Beryl tells his subjects to shut up, but the people have made their choice. They tell him to shut up and proclaim his daughter as the new ruler, and the room is soon filled with the cheers of the crowd, while Noah comforts the deposed Lord Beryl. And so was the revolution that only lasted as long as the cemetery visit. Using Noah's trailer truck, the demons make quick progress through the countryside towards the cemetery, with the cyborg believing it should take them about 3 days to reach the cemetery with the vehicle. He asks if it would not have been better if they just flew there with the ship, but Ellie enjoys the ride in the comfortable vehicle, and does not mind the longer trip. Noah then asks her if the tradition concerns her mother, which the surprised girl confirms. Her mom was a strong and beautiful person, and even in this troubled world, she kept her smile, lifting everyone's spirits. Despite her being human, people often said that she might have been a better fit to become overlord than her husband. She always had a lovely smile and kept on smiling, even in the last moments before succumbing to her illness when Ellie was still very young. That's why the girl decided that she would keep up her smile as much as possible when in front of everyone, even though there have also been times when she couldn't keep it up. She then changes the subject, and begins telling Noah about the time her father was suspected to be two-timing. After some time, the trailer comes to a halt atop a cliff as they arrive at a natural hot spring and stop to rest and relax in the warm pools. Bathing with the male demons, Noah is fascinated, with this being the first time he's seen a willy firsthand, and even going as far as asking a demon to touch it. Not far away, the overlord angrily splashes the water and yells at Noah to cut it out with his weird behavior, sighing in dismay at the situation. Regardless of this, the other demons are surprised that they actually discovered a hot spring there, and Solst believes they got lucky. One of the demons jokingly suggests they take a peep on the other side of a nearby stone wall, but the idea is immediately shut down by the overlord, who threatens death to anyone who dares take a look. On the other side of the wall, the female demons relax in another set of pools, protected from prying eyes. A female aquatic demon contemplates Ellie's naked body, noting how adult-like she looks, since her curves are beginning to take shape, and her demonic exoskeleton is starting to grow on her back. She is embarrassed by this, but the demon continues to tease her, noting that there's only a little time left to touch her soft skin before it is fully covered by the growths. Ellie is uncertain about this, reminding her that she is half demon and half human, and that her father believed the exoskeleton forming process might stop. The demon then asks how things are with Noah, taking the princess by surprise. She insists that they have been practically inseparable, and will not believe it if she says there's nothing going on between them. But Ellie does try to insist that they are not anything of that sort. Pressed for a definition, Ellie blushes, and admits that being with him makes her feel reassured, or perhaps nostalgic. Back at the trailer, the demon reports on the conversation to the overlord, noting that she believes it is totally possible for it to happen, while a Jawa-looking demon asks his liege if he is still going on about that. Furious, the overlord declares that he will never accept such a match, but the female demon retorts that is not something he can really decide. At that precise moment, a very angry and very drunk Ellie enters the room, stumbling through the door with a bottle in her hand. Grabbing her father's newly regrown horn, she begins twisting it, while stating that they don't have feelings like that, angrily recalling that she made that clear while accidentally ripping the new horn off. While her father writhes in pain, Ellie turns to the female demon and asks if she got it, which she confirms, while inwardly noting that she is just like her mother when she gets drunk. Turning away, Ellie then realizes she has not seen Noah for a while, and the female demon wonders where he could have gone off to. Noah is sitting on the roof of the trailer when Ellie triumphantly finds him, emerging from a hatch while wearing a cloak. Still drunk, she asks him what he's doing in a place like that, and he notes he was about to return. Without saying a word, Ellie approaches the cyborg and sits on the ledge beside him, suddenly dropping to her side and resting her head on his thighs. He screams at this, braving through the pain after being pierced through the leg by Ellie's horn. Oblivious to this, the drunken demon places a hand on her forehead, while mentioning she thinks she had an older brother. She was still small back then, so she doesn't remember much. But for some reason her memories about him have been faintly returning to her as of late all of a sudden. To Ellie, this felt warm and serene. Staring at him with her eyes glistening, she asks why he thinks this is happening. Staring into the night sky, Noah begins to reply something related to the fate of her elder brother, only to realize that Ellie has already dozed off while resting on his lap. Unbeknownst to him, the overlord, the female demon, and the Jawa are watching the entire scene from the rooftop hatch. The demons tell their liege it is only a matter of time, suggesting that he better give up, and that he would be better off thinking about the name of his future grandchildren. Stubborn as ever, the overlord will not accept this. The next morning, Ellie remains locked in the trailer's toilet, barfing her guts out, and going through a terrible hangover after last night's drinking. The aquatic demon keeps an eye on her from outside, informing the rest that the worst has already passed. Meanwhile, the overlord rides shotgun in the trailer's cab, as Noah drives towards their destination. Looking out, he points to their destination, signaling that they have finally arrived at the Clydall Memory Park, as the tombs come into view. Ellie is still pretty hungover and can't get a grip, but she nonetheless exits the trailer with the rest. While she remains huddled next to a tree barfing, her father tells the demons to kick it off by sweeping the cemetery, urging them to give it their all, and they eagerly set to the task, believing they will finish it before noon. Everyone does their part in cleaning the place, with some demons such as Ellie making use of their magic to hasten the process. Soon enough, the place is resplendent, and Lord Beryl kneels before the grave of his wife and son, and cries profusely, lamenting that Elena and Zell departed so soon. Ellie stands behind him, tears welling in her eyes as she notes that he's embarrassing himself, and that her mom and big brother will laugh at him if he keeps it up. Seeing the sobbing pair from a distance, Noah ponders on the meaning of family, and recalls a scene from his past. Still in his tank, Noah is reading a magazine with the help of a mechanical arm when his mom appears, noting that he seems to be feeling pretty good, and telling him to hang in there for a bit longer, since she will be able to make a proper body for him in a short time. Puzzled, he asked her why she would concern herself over him, but she brushes off the question, reminding him that she has a name. Winking, she asks him to call her mom, and is somewhat annoyed when he points out that he wasn't born from her. She points out that she essentially gave birth to him, so it should be alright, and though he concedes on that point, he remains hesitant. Grinning at his stubbornness, she proceeds to tell him something she believes will be beneficial to him, noting that he himself is the most righteous one in the world. He is confused by this, but she goes on to state that if she says that Noah is her son, then Noah will be her son, and if he says that she is his mother, then she will be his mother. Noah closes his eyes, failing to understand what she said, and noting that she is just as crazy as what the rumor says. She corrects him, telling him to call her a genius, and noting that someday he will know. After some time, Eve finally completes Noah's first body, transferring his brain soul onto it. She then effectively becomes his mother, sharing various moments together as he gets used to his new vessel. Sometime later, Noah is reading a book when he remembers the matter they discussed earlier, taking the woman by surprise for a second before she smiles once again. Remembering this at the cemetery, Noah wonders when he became his mom's son. He then approaches Beryl and asks for a favor, telling the demon he wants to build a tomb there for his mother. The overlord is surprised by this request, and though he's fine with it, he asks if his mother isn't supposed to be on another planet. Staring at the sunset, Noah leans over a rail, as he declares it is most likely his mom was there. Eve yesterday lies asleep there on that planet. As Noah and the demons consecrate her tomb, the cyborg notes to himself that he can never ask her about what was on her mind when she created this world. Demons who can manipulate magic, and humans who can do the same thing with the aid of those strange organs. He cannot piece together why she would create them. He believes those sacred weapons wielded by humans were made recently, but also wonders if they are somehow connected to Eve as well. Addressing the gravestone, he tells his mother that he will do just what he wants to do. Having paid his respects, the cyborg rejoins Ellie, and tells her that he has also decided what he needs to do. He plans to unravel this world's mysteries, and in order to do so, he thinks of going over to the human country. Noah speeds through the forest on his bike. Disguised as a human, Ellie holds on tight to his waist, as she asks if he's going the right way, with the cyborg telling her that according to the intel gathered by the recon bot, there seems to be a large place up ahead where they can enter without inspection. She doubts him at first, being smacked in the head by falling branches along the way, but finally she sees the clearing up ahead. Emerging from the brush, they find themselves atop a cliff overlooking a city in the human nation. A few days earlier, Noah broached the subject of his planned trip to Lord Beryl in the ship's cafeteria, noting that there was something that caught his attention. The overlord inquired if it was related to his mother, choosing not to pry into it once the cyborg confirmed it. He deduced that he would be fine infiltrating alone, but nonetheless warned him to never let his guard down, Just when Noah was about to announce his trip to the rest, Ellie suddenly barged in carrying a bag of bao, shocking everyone by announcing that she would be going to the human nation too, having overheard them talking. Speechless at first, her father immediately declares she was not going, and when she countered it would be fine since Noah was with her, the demon pointed out her demonic look, as that would be a dead giveaway in human territory. Disappointed yet unabated, she proceeded to grab her horns and yank them from her head, raising them triumphantly in front of a shocked Noah, and explaining that they would just grow back in time, and were starting to get on her nerves anyway. Shocked, her father pointed out her hands and cheeks were still covered by her demonic exoskeleton, but she confidently declared that she came prepared. Snapping her fingers, she signaled Ark to arrive and do a makeover, and the AI proceeded to expertly conceal every trace of her demonic traits, making Ellie appear as a normal human girl. Having anticipated it would come down to this, she had asked Ark for a favor, shocking Noah with her knowledge about identities. Ellie once again turned to her father, noting that now there should be no issues, but the overlord remained wary, asking why she insisted on going. She pointed out that her mother came from the human nation, and thus she wanted to see what kind of beings humans are, not wishing to hate them when she didn't even know them to begin with. Having dealt with her father, she then turned to Noah and asked if he was fine or if he considered her a hindrance, leaving him with no choice but to deny this and ask Beryl for his approval, which he reluctantly granted. Having infiltrated the human city, the pair headed to Zildra Square. Noah warns Ellie to stay under the radar, but the girl is visibly uneasy with his human disguise, being barely able to recognize him. The cyborg explains this is how he used to look like in the past, though he doesn't really like the look, and the demon girl points out that he looks like a wimp, causing him distress. Looking around town, Noah can see that the humans have developed their civilization using magic, even using it for mundane tasks such as construction and shopping. Beryl also did the same, and the cyborg concludes that in a world where magic is so convenient, the lack of scientific development can just be compensated by magic, thus stalling any progress. From what he can see, not a single person in the medieval-looking city seems to be using any machinery, so he wonders if the hero he fought previously was special enough to be allowed to wield such an advanced weapon. Ellie snaps Noah out of his thoughts, asking him what they should do now, since they would not achieve anything by walking around aimlessly. Noah acknowledges this, having thought that they could have some fun while walking around, only to remember that they're penniless. He asks Ellie for any ideas, and the girl scans the area and points towards a place called Decker's Diner. Inside the restaurant, Ellie is presented with a large bowl of food, and told that she will be rewarded with 5,000 lint if she finishes it in under 40 minutes, but will have to pay 500 lint if the time runs out, or if she gives up. As the store owner gives the signal, the girl gives a quick prayer and begins to dig in. Close by, Noah talks to another patron to gather information on the human country. The man tells him that the nation became wealthy a few decades earlier, with the help of the Pope and the heroes, but then asks with concern if Ellie is going to be fine, with Noah reassuring him that she probably will be. Noah starts expressing his misgivings about the constant state of war, but the man justifies it, pointing out that the nation is expanding and growing wealthier because of it, and they cannot be defeated with the heroes on their side. The cyborg is surprised to find out there is more than one hero, but the man is surprised by his lack of knowledge, speaking as if he had told the same thing countless times already. Apparently in this nation, only the heroes possess some sort of military weapon, and though the average citizen would not know of their numbers or scale, they seem to be quite numerous, being led by a cyborg-like entity called the Pope. Noah muses on investigating him, but the other man notes his ignorance and asks if he's a villager from the Western Sea. Caught off guard, the cyborg confirms this, only to be branded as a countryman with lame clothes. He then asks about the sacred treasures the heroes possess, proceeding to show the man a similar device. He looks surprised, stating that he had heard that they had some sort of special weapon, but noting that he didn't know what they were named, which a bartender confirms. At that moment, their conversation is cut short by Ellie, who has successfully finished devouring the whole dish, and has thus earned the 5,000 lint reward. Noah thanks the other man for sharing so much information, cuttingly thanking him as he calls him a country folk. Back in the street, Noah and a satisfied Ellie walk away from the restaurant. He's about to tell her about what he found out, when he suddenly suggests they take a little walk around since he wants to ask something. They eventually reach a secluded alleyway, with Ellie still not knowing who Noah expects to find to ask something in a place like that. Calmly, the robot replies that it is more likely that the people are going to be there, being able to sense the man from the bar about to strike him from behind with a knife. The cyborg quickly turns and incapacitates the man, cutting to the point and demanding to know why he attacked them. Still shaking, the man tells him to calm down and notes that he's holding a relic, explaining that the nation is buying them at a very hefty price. He deduces they're demons, since the area in the Western Sea belongs to them, so he plans to take the relic and collect the bounty for capturing them. An accomplice stealthily approaches, jumping down from the rooftops to strike down Ellie, but the girl uses her powers to knock him down mid-flight. Turning to the remaining thug, Noah drops his disguise and proceeds to interrogate him. Soon after, the badly beaten man apologizes, having only attacked them for the reward and the relic. Noah is disappointed by the scant amount of information gathered, and when Ellie asks about the fate of the thugs, Noah proposes they knock them out for the day and erase their memories, since they'll only be there for the day. With that taken care of, Noah still doesn't know what the sacred relic is, though Ellie believes it to be a waffle toaster. Just as Noah dons his disguise and the pair are about to head out, a cloaked figure pounces from the shadows, snatching the relic from the cyborg's hand, proceeding to make a run for it, and addressing the furious Noah as Norma. The thief eventually comes to a stop, believing he succeeded in outrunning his pursuers, since no one can catch up with his legs. Much to his surprise, however, Noah crashes into the street before him, ready to dispense punishment. His fury vanishes, however, and Ellie catches up just in time to see that the thief is a demon child in disguise. Shocked, Noah asks the startled demon child how he got there. Believing he has been discovered by humans, the scared bird-like demon is about to fight for his life, when Ellie reassures him they're demons too, waving her hand as they drop their disguises. The demon child then leads them through a tunnel beneath a bridge, explaining that he hails from the Panghorn region, but refusing to answer any more questions until they arrive at his hideout. They eventually exit the tunnel and arrive at an enclosed courtyard, and Ellie feels kind of excited being there. The demon child calls for his friends, named Henry and Louie, wondering where they might be and looking around for them. As he walks into the courtyard, the ground beneath him suddenly begins to crack and give way, and soon enough all three of them end up falling into a deep pit, with Noah unintentionally cushioning Ellie's fall with his body. At the surface, the small demon Louie notes that it worked, while his four-armed pal Henry joyfully holds a large boulder over his head to throw at the newcomers, while alerting of the intruders. When he looks down, however, the surprised demon sees his friend trapped at the bottom of the pit, asking what he's doing there. Annoyed, the demon child demands to know what he is doing in return, and asks when they dug that hole, causing Henry to laugh at the scene. Once they're out of the pit, the demon apologizes, explaining that Louie sensed an unknown magical force approaching and believed it was an intruder, telling his angry friend not to be cruel to the scared small demon child hugging him when he points out that he is a mage himself. With the issue settled, the bird demon then introduces Henry and Louie to Noah and Ellie, and the pair introduce themselves in turn, as the children realize they're demons as well. They're surprised to hear Ellie is the daughter of the Demon King Beryl, having thought that he had been killed by a human hero. She explains that he's fine, and once again asks why they would want to go to a human country, and what happened to their family. Looking down, the demon child explains that they were attacked by a human a week earlier, and though the demon lord and the adult demons managed to get the kids out of harm's way, the rest were all captured by the humans. The three children tried to break into the human country to see if they could somehow rescue them. The leader of the kids then asks for their help, deducing that they also infiltrated because their friends were attacked by humans. Ellie asks Noah what they should do, since they can't just leave the children to their fate, and after a pause, the cyborg asks the leader if he knows where the adults are being held. He replies that they have a pretty good idea where they are thanks to Louie, and Henry can dig underground to get them into any place they want. The child explains that the demons are being held in an underground military facility in the country. Having already built an entryway, all that is left to do is to use Louie's sense and rescue their friends. Hearing their plan, Noah asks if Louie is going to be alright, pointing out that he is much younger than the other two. But the leader explains that he has a lot of nerve, having even ventured into the facility without telling them, and deciphered the general structure of the facility. Noah praises his bravery, but the leader insists on the child never doing anything that dangerous again. Louie just wants to help, however, and when Noah kneels before him and asks if he's not scared, he replies that he is, but he doesn't want to sit still and do nothing. Hearing this, Noah then agrees to help them, and the leader enthusiastically declares that they should get on with it, reasoning that since they have new friends and their luck is starting to turn around, they must make the best of it and act quickly. Alarmed, Ellie turns to Noah, asking if he's okay with this, and suggesting that the kids rest while they take care of the matter themselves. The cyborg believes they could indeed do this, but seeing them eagerly jump into the tunnel, he cannot help but respect what they're doing, and does not want someone to simply interrupt their determination to do something. Reluctantly agreeing with him, she slaps him on the back, and states she will have to make sure she protects them. Noah acknowledges this and tells everyone to get moving. After some time digging, Henry pushes his way through a wall at their destination. Staring through the hole, he cannot help but gasp in awe at what he sees, asking Louie if he is certain they're in the right place. The kids exit the hole first, with their leader noting how creepy the place looks, and they're soon followed by Noah, who has to pull Ellie to get her behind unstuck from the hole. Once they're all inside, Noah contemplates the military facility, seeing all the advanced technology and heavy machinery filling the underground bunker. Being confronted by this new civilization of machines in a world supposedly run by magic, the cyborg notes that they were right to come. Walking through the metal corridors of the military facility, Coco asks Louie which way they should go. After a pause to use her senses, the child points towards a particular corridor, and the group resumes its march, unaware that they're being watched through the facility's security cameras. As the guard monitoring the screens informs his superior that the targets have broken in on schedule, the officer orders his men to activate the device and begin guidance. They acknowledge the order, but the guard also informs that 2 other magical creatures have also infiltrated, asking for further orders. After a brief pause, the officer ventures that the other intruders may want the same thing, and orders that they do the same with them as well. With a click on a keyboard, the guard activates the device, clearly affecting Louie. The demon stops in his tracks and remains motionless, causing his concerned friend to ask what's wrong. With a blank expression, the young demon shrugs it off and points to a room up ahead, stating that to be their destination. The group enters the large chamber, surprised to find it completely empty, and the bird demon turns to ask Louie if there's a hidden passage somewhere, only to find him standing in front of the door as it slams shut, trapping them all inside. Coco approaches his friend with concern and shakes him, while asking what's going on, only for Louie to place his hand on the boy's chest and fire a powerful attack at point-blank range, sending him flying against the wall. Everyone is alarmed by this, and when Henry asks his friend what he's doing, Louie struggles to warn him to stay away. They all realize something is wrong with him, but still cannot piece together what's going on, since Louie doesn't have that kind of power that he just displayed. Noah steps forward, ready to deal with the threat, but Coco desperately tells him that Louie would never do something like that. Noah then charges his hand, and when Louie dashes towards him, he quickly zaps him unconscious. The soldiers are shocked by this, not expecting the boy to be so easily neutralized. Seeing no other choice, the officer tells his subordinate to put him through. Coco is alarmed to see his friend unconscious, but Noah reassures him that he will be fine. At that precise moment, a voice notes the group's confusion and expresses surprise at the fact that they managed to incapacitate the experiment. As Coco furiously demands to know what they did to Louie, a huge screen then switches on, and the officer reveals the boy went through a little modification. Relishing in their surprise, he reminds them that Louie had snuck into the facility once before, revealing that he was captured and experimented on back then. Trembling with rage, Coco vows vengeance for what they did to his friend, but the officer merely calls him obnoxious and snaps his fingers. As Louie grabs his head and screams in pain, the man explains that he implanted an ocular death machine that can only be removed by a special procedure, and they only have 1 minute left. Cursing under his breath, Coco grits his teeth and agrees to do whatever the officer says, but Noah interrupts him, stating, "It won't be necessary." The cyborg then produces a myriad of surgical tools from his body and scans Louie's head to locate the device. Finding it, he proceeds to sedate him and immediately begins to operate, while the soldiers watch in disbelief through the surveillance system. Soon enough, Noah holds the ocular death machine in his hands and examines it, noting its small size and complex technology before crushing it. Though he had tried to stay out of it as long as he could, the inhuman experiment performed on Louie has changed his mind and filled his soul with rage. The nervous soldier asks what to do, but his superior reassures him it is all under control, since they'll never escape from that room anyway. Instantly, Noah uses his arm cannon to blast a hole through the wall. As the soldiers look on in disbelief, Noah looks back at the camera and tells them that they will reveal everything, warning them to prepare themselves for his arrival. The officer punches the table in frustration, wishing to know the identity of this demon, and coldly orders that they send in the heroes. His subordinate reminds him that the cyborg is supposed to be on par with the heroes, having neutralized the last one he faced in an instant, thus making it a useless move. Gritting his teeth, the officer resigns himself and orders the prototype to be activated. Meanwhile, Noah leads his party through the facility, having located the source of the energy and wishing to use the current confusion to their advantage. Louie then opens his eyes, apologizing to Coco for not being of much use and for hurting him earlier. His friend plays it down, citing his own strength, while Henry notes that he also hit him with a rock, while also playing it down and comforting him as they continue going through the corridors. They eventually reach their destination, and once Noah opens the door, they find themselves inside a massive chamber lined with tanks. Both him and Ellie find the place eerie, and the kids realize to their shock that all the captured demons are being held in the tanks. Handing Louie over to Ellie, The cyborg heads to a nearby terminal to see if he can get everyone out, hacking it with his arm extensions to see what they're doing there. Louie weakly points out that only the Demon Lord is not there, which his friends confirm. They wonder about the demon's whereabouts, oblivious to the approaching footsteps, and the kids are about to go looking for him deeper inside the facility when a familiar voice addresses them. Shocked, they turn to see an adult figure entering the room, and the newcomer calls them foolish for trampling in the sacred underground. Gasping, Louie recognizes the voice, realizing the newcomer is none other than their Demon Lord. A few months ago, Coco, Henry, and Louie's hometown. Perched atop a ledge and observing the happy demon families walking down the street below him, Louie recalls being punished for being troublesome along with his friends. As he sees other happy children walk by, he suddenly hears a voice addressing him, wondering where it came from. Soon enough, a horned demon comes down, slamming right next to him without saying a word, arms crossed as he begins to laugh at the child's surprise. Louie asks the Demon Lord what he's doing, to which he replies that he was doing his duty flying to the aid of a child of the demon tribe in distress. He asks what is worrying him, and when he lies, stating he's not worried, he feigns getting up to leave, only to sit right back down next to him, both surprising and cheering him up. Louie then asks why he doesn't have a father or mother, and when he notes it is difficult to explain, he asks if he really doesn't know his parents. He tries to lighten the mood, stating that he doesn't, since he just came out of the river one day, but Louie sorrowfully concludes that he must have been abandoned. The Demon Lord denies this, and as he tries to find the words to say to him, he experiences flashbacks of the moment when his mother handed him over and asked him to take care of him, as she began to fall apart. Finally, he tells him that he is cherished. When Louie asks how he knows this, he lies, telling him that he has a hunch due to his good instincts as a Demon Lord. Seeing that he still remains doubtful, he suddenly comes up with an idea, simply declaring that he can be Louie's father, completely taking him by surprise. He notes that the law permitting it is finally in place, and he can go live in his house. He then proceeds to create a stand with 2 necklaces on the palm of his hand, explaining that it is a talisman from his hometown, and gifting him one. Louie is grateful and glad to be invited to his house, but still doesn't understand why the Demon Lord would do this. Patting his head, he states that even though they're not related by blood, he is certain they will become a real father and child when he thinks of him as his father. Still not understanding, Louie refuses to practice calling him Papa, and the Demon Lord laughs at the rebelliousness. Back in the present, Louie shakes in fear upon recognizing the voice of the Demon Lord. Stepping out of the shadows, the demon doesn't seem to believe that he is who Louie claims, and declares that he will make him disappear. And everyone reels back in horror upon seeing that the humans have heavily modified his body and removed the exoskeleton covering his face. Tears flowing from his eyes, Louie desperately runs toward his foster father, asking him to wake up, but the previous Demon Lord moves to strike him. He is saved by Noah, who steps in between them, taking the hit in the shoulder, and Louie confirms to Ellie that their adversary is indeed the Demon Lord. As his body regenerates, Noah notes that what is said may be true, since he's just found out a couple of things, loudly declaring that the place is a facility for making men, and that heroes are made from demons. Ellie is shocked by this, but Noah has got it right. Originally, the demon tribe has a potential that is unmatched by humans, but for some reason, their power has been compromised and limited. But the humans have found ways to restore it and force the locks open, giving the subjects mechanical weapons, and thus creating mass-produced heroes like the one Noah fought at Barrel's castle. Now they've taken it one step further by targeting those who bear the name of Demon Lord, altering them to become even more heroic and powerful. And as he processes the information, he comes to a grim conclusion. He cannot win against this foe. Despite the possibility of defeat, Noah stands his ground against the Demon Lord. The latter, annoyed by the cyborg's regenerative power, activates his powers to bring him down once and for all. Louie explains that he has the power to produce all kinds of metal out of thin air, but he shouldn't be able to control it without touching it like he is doing right now. Noah concludes that this new development must be due to him generating a magnetic force from the device grafted into his back, and takes note not to touch it. Telling Ellie to take care of the kids, he removes his jacket and rushes into the fight, while activating the force field generators on his wrists. The Demon Lord attacks him with a barrage of metal, but the barrier holds for long enough and allows the cyborg to dodge the incoming strikes as he closes in. Believing that destroying the magnetic force generator should put an end to the fight, he fires his arm cannon straight at the Demon Lord, with multiple shots converging on the target. The Demon Lord blocks them all with an impenetrable metal barrier, and then manages to launch a single blob of metal towards Noah's arm. The metal infiltrates into its mechanisms, and upon the Demon Lord's command, the cyborg's arm is ripped clean off. Reeling from this, Noah cannot figure out how the Demon Lord knows of his power. The demon then switches tactics and attacks in full force with a torrent of metal, and though Noah raises his remaining shield in preparation for the strike, he soon realizes to his horror that the attack was targeted at Ellie and the children. Noah powerlessly looks on as the metal nears its target, but Ellie blocks it with her electric magic powers, causing the shards to vaporize. Ellie realizes this but knows her power output is not enough to defeat the Demon Lord right now. Noticing the broken cables sprouting from the broken floor, Ellie has an idea and rushes towards them, telling the children to stay put. Terrified, Louie tells her to wait and warns her that the Demon Lord is much more powerful than her, but the young demon reassures her that she will return him to normal, apologizing in advance, since he will also have the living daylights beat out of him. Meanwhile, the battle between Noah and the Demon Lord has shifted, as the cyborg is forced onto the defensive, dodging and evading the ceaseless attacks as he tries to figure out the device that generates magnetic force. As the metal approaches him once more, Noah hears Ellie warning him to get down, as she neutralizes the attack. Turning, he sees that Ellie has fully charged from the facility's power source, and has regained all her demonic traits, as well as losing all her clothes save her underwear. Noah is shocked and a little disappointed to see her dressed like that, but knows it doesn't matter in this situation. Barely able to contain the massive amount of energy coursing through her veins, the demon girl states she won't last long in this condition, and presses Noah to make it quick. Seeing her join the fight, the furious Demon Lord prepares to attack them both with his full might, but Ellie is undaunted by this. Grinning psychotically, she dashes forward to meet the incoming strike and vaporizes the metal, providing Noah with a window to strike the Demon Lord. The demon attempts to raise his protective barrier, but Ellie vaporizes it as well, allowing Noah to breach his defenses and turn his arm into a bazooka to shoot him at point-blank range. The strike lands square in the Demon Lord's chest, sending him flying and causing him to cough up blood. Refusing to yield, the demon manages to seep some metal into Noah's chest, ordering it to strike at the cyborg and causing him serious injuries. Ellie is alarmed, but Noah's attack has succeeded in shattering the magnetic energy generator in the Demon Lord's back. Shocked and furious, the Demon Lord turns his arm into a blade, lunging forward to finish off the cyborg. Ellie is already reaching her limit, being unable to move from sheer exhaustion, but Louie runs in front of Noah, begging the Demon Lord to stop, calling him father. The words have the intended effect, as the demon's sword only nicks his cheek as he comes to a halt, crying as he recognizes him and realizing he cannot control his body. Louie then embraces him in tears, glad at the fact that he has returned, only to be mercilessly run through by his foster father. Everyone looks on in horror as the wounded child falls back, his face frozen in shock, as the Demon Lord coldly states that the first one is down. Seeing this, Noah seethes with rage, his eye turning black as his blood begins to float around him. He then has a flashback of Eve asking if he ever got mad at her, advising him to practice doing that while he still can. He wondered if that was something you could train yourself to do, which she confirmed, noting he also had to learn to control his emotions. This made sense to him, causing him to point out that they were all half-human. Eve hesitantly agreed, once again warning him to not let his emotions get the best of him. Fueled by his rage about Louie's fate, Noah has turned into a colossal monster capable of destroying the world, even causing Ellie to be terrified. The Demon Lord attempts to strike him from the back, while calling him out for revealing himself to be a monster, but Noah instantly turns around and slams him to the ground with a single punch. Ellie remains frozen in place watching what her friend has become. She only snaps out of it when she hears Coco and Henry screaming at Louie to wake up, and staring at him laying on the ground, she notices that the child is still breathing. Realizing it is not too late, she desperately runs towards Noah as he grabs the Demon Lord by the head and screams at him to listen, informing him that Louie is still alive, and that he can do something before it's too late. He pauses for a second, but then returns to the beating with a deafening roar, and Ellie looks on in distress as she realizes her effort has failed, not knowing what to do. Then the chamber rumbles as the ceiling begins to crack, and Ellie looks up to see several figures descend from a gaping hole and land amidst a cloud of dust. One of them addresses his long-haired comrade as his leader, and the latter confirms they're in the right place, but have arrived a little late. Gauging the situation, she stands before the demons following her, and declares this is a little different than what they planned. Ellie asks the newcomers who they are, and the leader stops in front of her and asks to be excused for a moment, before probing her mind to find out what's going on. The two then share a tense stare, which the girl breaks by kissing Ellie on the lips, before turning away and declaring she got it all figured out and will take care of the rest. Her subordinates ask if she really needs to kiss the young woman every time she reads her memory, to which she lies, stating it to be a vital part of the process. Dismissing their objections, she orders them to release the captives as soon as planned, and tells the wolf demon Last Key to heal the dying Louie as soon as possible. She then tells the larger Detto to help her with Noah and the Demon King, stating that they're both in need of rescue, and he must get their attention whatever it takes. Complying, he rushes toward Noah, and yells as he punches him in the jaw and locks him in combat. The leader uses this distraction to jump on top of the rampaging cyborg, using her mind powers on him, successfully reverting him back to normal and rendering him unconscious. She then orders her men to patch him up, and when Detto asks if he should chase after the Demon Lord, she orders him to stay put, since he would be no match against him. The leader then turns her attention towards Ellie, who she finds cute, and introduces herself as Anna, a friend of both the demons and humans. Scratching her head, she then admits that she is the daughter of the Pope, though she is not proud of that fact. Meanwhile, in a massive industrial complex, one of the heroes informs the Pope of Anna's attack on the factory. He orders the hero to leave it alone, since they have already secured so many high-ranking heroes that she won't be able to mess up the plan, no matter what. A naked female hero then notes that they're under pressure, and the 9 tribes are in despair, upon which the Pope declares that they can finally free the demons. Pausing, the other hero reports there's been another intruder besides Anna, showing him footage of Noah. The Pope clenches his fist, recognizing him as Eve's creation, declaring he knows him all too well. Remembering the scientist, he grasps his head, as he wonders aloud if she is trying to destroy the planet again. Back at the spaceship, the fiery Anna has a heated argument with the Lord Beryl, furiously declaring that being the Pope's daughter does not make her his enemy. Stubborn as ever, the Demon Lord turns away, believing she is trying to deceive him, and that this must all be some new trick by the humans. Horrified by his attitude, Ellie swiftly slides towards him and mercilessly smacks him against the table, causing the tip of his right horn to break off once more, all in an attempt to get him to shut up. When Beryl asks if she is on his side, she angrily reminds him that they owe Anna and her group big time after they helped them out at the facility, and the girl seizes this opportunity to get closer to her. Beryl remains suspicious, having never heard of humans who would ally with demons ever since the Pope showed up. Anna notes that fact shows how much control he has on humans, adding that normal people like them are few and far between. She explains to the exhausted Lord that the Pope had been planting false memories into the minds of everyone in the countries, and Ellie snaps in realization, as she asks if those memories make the demons seem like the enemy. Though she doesn't remember the exact details, Anna recalls that the Pope somehow implanted the memory that demons are the enemy and have done terrible things to humans in the past. Even though the feeling starts out small, once everyone in the country starts feeling the same way, it balloons and ends up having a significant impact. Ellie asks if it's really that easy to implant memories, since she has never seen nor heard of such a thing, but Anna counters that she has, revealing that she was specifically made for that purpose. She explains to the shocked demon girl that magic is not some sort of latent power that one brings forth, and the form it takes depends on the environment one grows up in. Anna then asks Beryl and Ellie if they remember when Ellie became able to use magic, and both begin to recall a specific event, revealing she became an electric magic user ever since she was struck by lightning one time. Anna is surprised at her resilience for surviving a lightning strike, but putting that aside, she reveals that the Pope can use the power of relics to create humans from scratch. So she was conditioned since birth to develop memory manipulation magic. She then tells the surprised Ellie that the current technology being used to manipulate people's memories was created using her as a basis. Beryl ponders this, wondering why she would be here if that were true, and pointing out she must have been tainted by the Pope's ideology. Smiling sadly, Anna replies she doesn't get it either, since she was indeed brought up by the Pope himself. She recalls having conversations with him when she was still a child, with the Pope happily recalling the life he used to have with the demons. She was raised by him for less than a decade, and does not have any grand goals like saving humanity or the demons. Instead, she just wants to see her father again and talk to him, but points out that won't mean anything if she cannot actually reach his base, since he's insanely powerful, and even the destruction of the hero production facility did not seem to help either. Puzzled, Ellie asks if she knows where the Pope is, which she does, since his base was where she was born, but the girl explains she cannot simply go there since the base is in outer space. She explains that going to space is not something you can do with magic, and though she heard it could be done with some sort of relic, she has no idea where she could find it, suddenly noticing Ellie and Beryl are staring at each other in silence. The demon girl then breaks the impasse, revealing to Anna that they are inside one such relic. Noah has a dream of his time back on Earth while still in his tank. In it, scientists torture him to make him suffer, causing the enraged being to swear vengeance on his tormentors. Waking up in horror, the cyborg blows a hole on the hull of the ship, causing the entire vessel to rattle. The alarmed Ark enters the cafeteria asking if everyone is alright, reporting that Noah has turned into a monster once again. Inside his ravaged room, the cyborg slowly returns to normal and stares at his hands in horror. Ellie and Anna enter the room, but when the demon girl asks him if he's okay, he remains silent and leaps away. Anna calls him a show-off for doing that at his age, and proceeds to scan the room in search of any remaining memories. Smiling with understanding, she lies to Ellie, stating she didn't find anything, but can at least track where he's going, telling her to stay put while her big sis Anna takes care of it. She finds Noah sitting atop a cliff overlooking the forest, and though the cyborg asks to be left alone, she asks to sit next to him. Introducing herself, she tells him that he owes her, and should show her some thanks. After he shows his gratitude, she asks what's troubling him, noting she's pretty good when it comes to solving problems, offering to listen to him. Before he even begins speaking, she states that he regrets letting his emotions get the better of him back at the facility, and feels depressed because he almost hurt his friends. He laughingly comments she's half right, so she continues guessing that he feels useless now that he realizes he's not invincible despite his power. Noah then cuts her short with a blunt no. He admits that he was consumed by anger back then, and his features begin to change once more when he admits that he enjoyed it. Those are his real emotions, but he thought he was okay after Eve taught him how to contain it, until it all came out again at the facility. Processing this, Anna gets up once again and grins, telling him to let her take him somewhere nice before jumping away. As the spaceship floats over the barren mountainous terrain, Ark informs Anna that they've arrived at the location she gave them, asking if she is certain this is the right place. Confirming this, she asks Det if he managed to reach out to the others. Just as she explains that the place is usually concealed with magic, the landscape suddenly vanishes to reveal a medium-sized walled town nestled between the cliffs. Once they descend, Anna is welcomed by the town's inhabitants, with many asking if she has brought a new girl, in reference to Ellie. The embarrassed human tries to change the subject, asking about the village, but the demon girl cannot help but notice her host's reputation. Looking in every direction, she's surprised to see humans and demons happily living together in the town. Anna then explains that this is their stronghold, where demons who were attacked by the Pope and humans who fled his rule coexist in peace. Anna told them that the reason they came there was for Noah, and Ellie asks what's wrong with him, upon which she scratches the back of her head and awkwardly begins to answer. She recalls how back on the cliff she told Noah about herself, the Pope, and the base in space, asking for his help in stopping her father. She also told him that a little bit earlier, while exploring the ship and ignoring Ark's warnings, she came across a picture of Eve yesterday in his room, and revealed her father knows her. She was certain of having seen pictures of him with her, and believed she might find out what Noah wanted to know if she reached her father. Noah considered this but was reluctant to fight again, since he's no longer certain he's able to control himself, and fears that someone may get hurt or perish, and fears he may be the next thing that could end up destroying the world. Back in the present, a grim Anna refuses to give Ellie an answer, instead patting her on the shoulder and telling her not to worry, and to go relax around town while she takes care of the matter. She then uses her mind powers to plant the thought in her head and send her off to have fun with her father. Lasky then approaches her asking if it's okay to send her off like that, and she replies that this is something she has chosen to do. She asks in turn if he is ready, noting that if Ellie knew what they were doing, it would just complicate things, since she might die in the attempts. Elsewhere, Det leads Noah through the town's streets, leading him into a large arena where Anna is waiting. The girl waves at him and tells everyone to go to their places, grabbing Noah by the hand and leading him to the center of the chamber. Once there, she gives her men the signal, and they proceed to raise a barrier around the two. Noah looks around in confusion, asking Anna what she's trying to do, but the girl merely reaches towards him and mocks his confusion before using her powers on him. The cyborg falls to his knees in pain, grasping his head as his face begins to transform. Anna reminds him of her ability, stating she will use whatever means necessary to achieve her goals, and stating they will surely become good friends once he wakes up. As the enraged Noah continues his transformation, Det warns Anna of the danger, and asks if she's certain that she doesn't need help, but the girl reassures him, and orders him to focus on maintaining the barrier even if she perishes. Turning to face the fully transformed Noah, she prepares to find out whether or not he is the monster that will destroy the world. From Earth, 50,000 years ago, standing amidst the carnage he caused in a facility, Noah's thoughts can be surmised by a single sentence. If every living thing in this world has a role to play, then I'm sure my role is to kill these creatures. At the same time, Eve enters the facility escorted by Ark. She had planned on making a flashy entrance, but based on the destruction, the AI believes she was too late. She refutes this, becoming annoyed when he states his belief that her goal was to destroy the facility, and telling him to remain in battle form. Asked about her true goal, she declares that she is looking for past regrets, stating he will soon find out what she means. Nearby, a terrified man runs away screaming for help, turning to aim his gun at Noah, only to be mercilessly slaughtered by him. Now alone, the ghoulish creature declares he will never forgive the people who created him and made him a monster. He is pulled from his thoughts by Eve, who declares she found it and waves at him, noting that he seems to really be going all out. The nervous Ark asks if that was what she was looking for, and the woman continues to wave, seeking to reassure the creature that they're not there to fight, but rather to talk. Disregarding her words, Noah dashes forward to attack, and Ark steps in front of her to shield her, while warning her to stay back, though the scientist notes it would be pointless. As if to prove her point, the creature uses magic to raise several sharp objects and aim it at them, and Eve explains to Ark that they are witnessing a supernatural power that has been called magic. Though it is not as varied as the magic in fairy tales, she notes it is still powerful, and warns the AI to be careful. Ark then engages Noah in hand-to-hand combat, as Eve observes from a distance. She takes note of the disjointed pieces forcibly held together with the creature's ability that make up its body, and realizing he has been maintaining that for several hours, she signals Ark to use that. The AI wonders why they didn't use it from the start, but after Eve shuts him up, he charges both his hands with energy and clasps them, sending a pulse through the room. At first, Noah doesn't understand what just happened, but soon enough his body falls apart while Eve apologizes, noting she has studied that power thoroughly, as the creature falls unconscious. Noah wakes up to find himself suspended inside a tank back at Eve's base. She notices him being awake, noting he has been asleep for hours, and as Noah begins to recognize that he's in a lab, she reassures him she will not hurt him. He, however, doesn't trust her, and demands to be released at once. But she points out that if she did release him, he would not last a day, once again asking if he wants to be let out. Seeing his unwavering resolve, she relents, and despite Ark's alarm, she grants him his desire, moving over to a console and opening the tank. She then asks the creature what it wants to do now that he's out, and as he assembles yet another set of limbs from random pieces of metal, Noah declares his goal to be the extermination of all humans. He then lunges forward, smashing Eve against a wall and pinning her there, while grabbing her by the throat. Much to his surprise, the scientist begins clapping and congratulating him, stating that he's achieved his goal, and revealing herself to be the last living human. As Noah recoils in shock, she goes on to explain she destroyed all of the other humans, noting it wasn't as fun as he made it out to be, and inviting him to go check around after finishing her off. Seeing him pause in shock, Eve ventures that he didn't really want to wipe out humanity, noting she didn't think he could do it. Pointing out that he has known nothing but pain and suffering, she embraces him, and calls him a much kinder person than herself. Knowing kindness for the first time, Noah falls to his knees, tears falling from his eyes as he asks what she is, bonding with her, despite her being human. Back in the present, Noah transforms from his monster form back to his usual self, confused as to what just happened. He hears Anna ask if he remembered an important memory, and turns to find her leaning against a rock and grabbing a deep wound in her shoulder while smiling faintly. Noticing the blood in his hands, he realizes with horror that he was the one who injured her, but the girl reassures him, and reminds him that she told him she would use whatever means, having considered this to be the best way to get what she wanted. She then asks if he is still a monster, and stops Noah when he begins to ask why she would go to such lengths, telling him not to worry about it. Instead, she asks him to fight with them for the sake of the world. Clenching his fist, he smiles as he agrees to fight together with them, and thus the pact is sealed. Her goal accomplished, Anna begins crying and whimpering about her painful injury, asking her visibly uncomfortable subordinates to hurry up and treat her. Noah ponders his current situation. It has been a few months since he arrived on this planet and he has encountered Ellie, Beryl, and the other demons, and has also learned of the Pope who wants to destroy them. There is also the fact that the planet is actually Earth remade by Eve's hand. However, he still wonders why his mother sent him there. Leaning over him, Eve asks if he wants her to tell him. Caught off guard, the startled cyborg gets up and asks his mother why she's there. Doing some fourth wall shenanigans, Eve asks if their protagonist, Noah, still wants to know about the mysteries of the planet. He declines after a brief pause, noting that right now he would rather fight for Ellie and Anna, since he considers the demon girl and her father to be like family. Anna encouraged him to go to the Pope to see if he can figure out the mysteries of the world, having risked her life for him. And now he wants to help her, the Resistance, and all the other demons. Praising his resolve, she urges him to do his best for them. Glad to see he grew up to be such a good boy. Touched, he is about to say something else, when Eve tells him it is time to wake up, taking him by surprise. As a farewell, she tells him she will always be right beside him. Noah opens his eyes, finding himself resting on a bed in Anna's tower while Det keeps watch. The demon explains that he toppled over after the fight, being completely exhausted after everything he did. But their conversation is cut short by a loud explosion nearby. Noah turns in alarm, but Det reassures him about its source. In a nearby amphitheater, Ellie has just proven her mettle against 3 of Anna's subordinates, thus earning a spot in the team that will fight the Pope. And Father steps up next. Though Ellie believed he wanted to stop her, he tells her that her mother used to say that parents must support their children when they have a goal, no matter how reckless it may be. And also the Demon King cannot just run away. Anna then steps into the ring to fight him, and Beryl confidently charges forward, only to get knocked out with a single punch. His men proceed to beat and shame him for his pitiful performance as he lands, but Anna reassures Ellie that she will not remove him from the team, announcing that he passed. Solst and the Penguin Demon are shocked by this, asking if she is certain about bringing such a weakling along. Anna questions his apparent weakness, despite being completely covered by an exoskeleton, but decides not to dig into his circumstances as long as he shows his strength when it is needed. They then see Noah enter the arena, and Anna explains to him that they're deciding who will go to fight the Pope. He is surprised that Ellie and the rest are going, but the demon girl notes that they're not just going to stand still if he will fight for them. Noah mutters that is just like her, rapidly changing subject and trying to apologize to Ellie for going on a rampage back at the facility, thus putting her and the children in danger. He vows to never let that happen again, earning him a smack in the face. As the girl tells him to quit moping around, she reminds him that she also shares part of the blame for failing to stop the Demon King, and asks him to rely on her if they ever find themselves in a situation like that, since they're friends after all. Getting up, he accepts this, and they both shake hands while asking if she really had to hit him, but Ellie calls it even. A few days later, the ship is ready to depart. Before launch, Noah starts off with an unsettling comment about the possibility of blowing up due to the ship's age, and as Ark confirms that they're ready, the cyborg orders the ship to take off to space, hoping to ultimately reach the Pope's base. As the spaceship approaches the Pope's space station orbiting Earth, Noah does a quick rundown of the strategy. He explains that the ship is protected by a shield that prevents it from being captured by the enemy, which will hold for 1 hour. Using that time, he will infiltrate using the back door that Anna told him about, and they will both make their way to the Pope, while the other demons spread out and cause mayhem to distract his forces. Anna raises her hand, briefing the demons in turn, and warning them that the Pope has 3 aides that are far more powerful than even the best heroes, telling them to run away if they run into them. Noticing Ellie seems upset, Noah approaches her and asks about it. As her hand begins to shake, she admits that she's getting nervous, before pumping her fist and loudly declaring that she will go outside to get some fresh air, with the Penguin Demon following behind her. The cyborg takes note of everyone's nervousness, before suddenly realizing that Ellie was about to exit the ship in the vacuum of space. He manages to rescue them before they're sucked out, but the experience leaves them traumatized. They have no time to process this, however, as the ship begins to shudder, and a loud clang is heard. An alarmed Ark then reports that the ship's systems are being taken over, and they're being dragged into the enemy's base. The spaceship is guided into a hangar, and once it lands, the group is greeted by a man who welcomes Anna back. She addresses him as Reg, noting that she doesn't like being greeted like that, but he tells her to endure it since the Pope has been looking forward to seeing her again. The girl notes that it feels like he knew she was coming, and Reg confirms he's been tracking her, making her feel uneasy. She confirms to Noah that he's one of the Pope's aides, but admits she didn't expect to find all 3 of them there to greet her. The female aide greets her enthusiastically, stating that she's been lonely, and the annoyed Anna tells Ellie that she was the one who stole her virtue, shocking her. Reg beckons Anna to follow him, stating that all her companions will have to perish. But he is cut short when alarms begin to blare. He is then informed that many demons and humans have infiltrated the base and are wreaking havoc everywhere. Grinning, Anna declares the operation to be a success, as everyone save from Anna, Ellie, and Beryl turn out to be holographic projections created by Ark. The aides are caught off guard by this ploy, and Anna reveals to them she was aware she was being monitored, and that she even faked the strategic meeting to make the ruse more believable. Reg gives her all due credit for her ruse, and orders Tobadi and Gollum to go to the Pope, with the female aide bidding Anna farewell, and asking Reg not to hurt her. Anna asks if it is okay for Reg, the strongest aide, to remain there, and the man unfolds a pair of metallic wings as he prepares to fight them. Anna believes that facing him alone will be more convenient, but she is soon disabused of the notion when Reg dashes past her and violently slams Beryl against a wall, cracking his exoskeleton. Turning, he reminds Anna of his strength as he prepares to face Ellie next, with Anna only managing to warn her to dodge. Before the punch lands, Reg's hand is halted by someone, and the aide turns to see Beryl behind him. What is a Demon King? It is a title, not the name of a species, but those who call themselves the Demon Kings are always, without exception, covered by an exoskeleton. This is due to the abilities of demons, who subconsciously send magical power to those who they consider to be their leader. That power is stored within their body, and when it leaks out, it crystallizes and forms the exoskeleton. Aside from protecting the body, this also serves two other purposes. One was the ability to launch a surprise, suicidal attack against a large number of people, using the reaction from turning the exoskeleton back into magical power, which Balor had planned to use back in his castle. The other is the absorption of the exoskeleton into one's self, enabling the Demon Kings to temporarily gain power that surpasses their limits. Having fully absorbed the exoskeleton, Beryl tells Anna and Ellie to go ahead without him. Reg attacks him, noting that changing his appearance will not be enough, but this punch barely causes the Demon King to flinch as he glares at his foe. Returning the punch, Beryl slams his fist against Reg's stomach and sends him crashing against a wall. Ellie remains frozen in place as she watches the battle unfold, but Anna grabs her hand and drags her away. Turning to face her father one last time, the princess tells him not to lose, to which he replies with a hand gesture. Rising from his crater, Reg furiously declares there is no way the Demon King can defeat him. Grinning, Beryl calls it tough luck, stating that he's up against the strongest Demon King in the world, as he prepares to fight. Sometime in the past, the air above a town crackles, charged with magical energy as a new barrier comes up around it. Its creator, Beryl, contemplates his work as his grandmother apologizes for making him come all the way out there. He replies that she always took good care of him, and now thanks to the barrier, humans will not be able to sense the place anymore. The old lady then taunts him, recalling how he used to cry every time he challenged her, chuckling at his reaction, but then grows serious and thanks him for what he did. He cannot believe the day has come when she would thank him, but the old hag is going all in, and notes she would also be grateful if he helped with the farm and fixed the roof. She heard that Beryl has been going around helping weaker demons by setting up barriers and asks how much power he has left after that. His lack of answer says more than enough, and she asks how he can hope to protect his people in an emergency if he is in such a state. He retorts that he can use the trick he learnt from her if push comes to shove, but she is adamant that he does not use it. The old lady tells her grandson that no one will complain if he keeps power for himself when he is already in this weakened state, and begs him not to be reckless, but he dismisses the concern. Back in the present, Ellie has just told Anna the reason behind Beryl's weakened state, noting that despite him thinking he's hiding it, everyone in their group knows, and that's why she believed in him and followed him there. Everyone used to say that there was no way he would ever be defeated, because there is no other Demon King who is so kind and strong. Back in the hangar, the overpowered Beryl continues to trade blows with the Pope's aid, clearly managing to maintain the upper hand. Finally shattering Reg's mechanical appendages, he tells him to yield, since he doesn't stand a chance without his weapon. Far from it, the aide laughs like a maniac, and asks if that looks like a weapon before bursting forward and striking again. Beryl blocks the blow, but realizes his foe is getting stronger. Reg is the only hero to be made from a human. In a world where everyone can use magic, he was born without the ability to do so, which caused him to be treated as inferior ever since he was a child. It wasn't until he turned 10 that he sensed something strange with his body. While the other children were flying using magic, he flew with his jumping power, and he could destroy the rocks that the others launched at him using nothing but his fists. It wasn't that he didn't have magic power, but rather he had an unusual condition that caused it to accumulate in his body without being released, Later, as Reg looked down at the hometown he had destroyed with his own hands, he became convinced he was the most advanced human to ever exist. He screams at Beryl that only the Pope needed him, landing blow after blow as he pushes him back. The Demon Lord cannot figure out what's going on, since the aide has become far stronger ever since he destroyed the machine on his arm, and is becoming even more muscular and unhinged. They continue to fight, with Reg's incredible strength tearing the whole place apart. Seeing blood bursting from his bulging arms, Beryl realizes he cannot control his power, and instead relied on the machine to keep it suppressed, and also notices that his skin is beginning to crack from the absorbed magical power. Grinning, he realizes they're both running out of time, and decides to get him with the next attack. As Reg rushes him, Beryl braces for impact once more, and the aide's arm pierces right through his chest. The deranged human claims victory with a grin, but Beryl merely smiles as he raises a barrier around them. Reg is confused at first, but becomes horrified as he realizes what is happening. Holding his arm, the Demon Lord tells his foe he's really good at this kind of magic, disregarding his screams to be released and smirking as he performs his final, suicidal attack, with the force field concentrating the blast solely on them. When the dust settles, Beryl stands over the slain aide, laughing faintly. Mortally wounded, he apologizes to all of his followers, and especially to Ellie, who senses something is amiss. Falling to his knees in his final moments, he tells Noah that the rest is up to him. Meanwhile, the cyborg finally confronts the Pope face to face. Ellie and Anna finally catch up with Tobadi and Gollum outside of the Pope's chamber. The female aide greets her former colleague, and Anna asks if it's okay for them to be there while Noah's about to reach the Pope. Tobadi tells her to stay quiet, since she doesn't want to hurt her too much, but the girl immediately briefs Ellie about their foes. Tobadi is constantly absorbing light through her skin, and can manipulate said energy at will, while Gollum will probably just beat them up with his giant fists, adding that she has never understood what he's thinking, and causing Ellie to realize she doesn't know anything about them. Inside the throne room, the Pope addresses Noah, and notes that he looks a little better than the last time he saw him in the lab, revealing himself to be a former subordinate of his mother, Eve, yesterday. Noah asks if he thinks himself to be a king in a world created by his boss, but the Pope notes he is misunderstanding the situation. He declares that it is actually the other way around, and he is trying to save the world. Noticing Noah's perplexity, the Pope notes that Noah has not been told anything, and when he confirms that he didn't even know that this was Earth, he offers to tell him the truth about this world his mother created. Taking the cyborg's lack of response as a sign of interest, he begins the tale. 50,000 years ago, mankind was aware of Eve's plan to slaughter them all and start the world anew, but to the Pope, the world she would create sounded far more appealing. Seeing the writing on the wall, he stole a small ship and took it to orbit, waiting out the apocalypse and the founding of this new world. He finally returned to Earth about 100 years before Noah did, still in his human body. At the time, he was thankful to his mother, and like Noah would later, he met the demons. He was surprised at first by their appearance, but in the end, they were no different from human beings, and it did not take long for their friendship to deepen, making him truly happy. Hearing this, Noah furiously asks him why on earth he would want to destroy the demons, and after a pause, the Pope resumes his story. He had wanted to repay the demons for their kindness, and though this world had the convenient power of magic, it couldn't solve everything, so he decided to offer them the civilization Earth had had before. It was far from what they had immediately before the end, but both the demons and humans developed greatly, and skyscrapers soon rose around the medieval-style towers. And then, it happened. One day, the Pope was commenting on how different the place looked now to his demon friend, noting that there was still a long way to go before reaching the level of technology they had pre-extinction. His friend believed their current level should be enough, telling him of a legend from his hometown about a country that was destroyed because it wanted too much. Just as he was replying that he knew of the tale, his friend fell to his knees, grabbing his head in pain. Alarmed, he noticed all the demons were suffering as well, but when he told his friend to hold it together while he got a doctor, he noticed his eyes had turned blood red, as he declared in a mechanical voice that civilization had exceeded risk limits. The Pope was confused by this, but soon noticed all the other demons were repeating the exact same thing, and began bunching up. Grimly, his former friend ordered all humans in the surrounding area to follow instructions, and accept disposal as soon as possible, promising a gruesome end to those who attempted to escape or rebel. Even after hearing the story, Noah still doesn't understand, so the Pope cuts to the chase and bluntly tells him that the demons are the overseers and tuners of this world. The cyborg finds it absurd, but the Pope goes on to explain that Eve gave magic to the people of this world to prevent civilization from developing. In this world that had the convenience of magic, a civilization was built that had nothing to do with science until the Pope came along, and the progress that he made ended up incurring the wrath of the system, causing it to go all Hades on humans and reset things. Ark, watching this from the ship, proceeds to inform Eve that Noah has learned some of the secrets about this world, asking her what she would like to do. Instantly, Ellie opens her eyes wide and becomes rigid. Next to her, Anna notes that the aides are tough, while Tobadi taunts her. The girl comes up with a plan, but gets no response from the demon princess. Goliath then moves in to strike at Ellie, only to be instantly defeated by the girl's magical powers. Seeing this, Tobadi decides to go all out as well, but she is no match either, with Ellie effortlessly halting her attack and zapping her out of existence with a single strike. Anna is left speechless by this insane display of power, asking Ellie why she never told her about it. Finally looking in her direction, Ellie closes in and stares intently at the girl, asking to borrow her hair tie. She then uses it to tie up her hair in a style resembling Eve's, before uttering Noah's name with a disturbing look on her face. An alarmed Anna asks the princess if she's okay, only for her to turn in a certain direction and resume her march without saying anything else. At the throne room, Noah comes to grips with the fact that the demons are the overseers of the world, and that Ellie, Beryl, and his other friends will eventually become slaves to the system. Desperately, Noah asks if that will only happen if civilization develops too much, but the Pope bluntly tells him it is no use. He explains that they're trying to maintain the balance of the world through population growth, environmental changes, and various other factors, and tells the cyborg that he's not asking him to join his cause, rather that he just stay out of the way. Realizing that Ellie and the others will be exterminated if he does nothing, Noah refuses the Pope's request. They're interrupted by Eve/Ellie's sudden arrival. Noah is surprised, and the Pope yells in disbelief, realizing that she has defeated Tobadi and the others. She then lazily raises her arm and declares the Pope to be in the way, proceeding to zap him into dust before running toward Noah and greeting him for the first time in millennia. Confused, the cyborg asks what the heck is going on, and Eve finally realizes that the body she is occupying is called Ellie, and makes sense of what Anna was saying earlier. Stepping closer, she asks if he had not noticed, and declares that his mother is sad, proceeding to reveal her true identity as Eve yesterday, while doing her traditional hand gesture. She reminds him that she created all demons, which in turn means that all demons are her, and as the confused Noah continues to call her Ellie, she demands that he call her Mom, when seeing each other after so long. Though she would have preferred that they had taken their time in figuring things out, she nonetheless concludes it was about time for a reset anyway. Bidding her son farewell, she reaches to him and pats him on the shoulder, while telling him that if he wants to stop her, she will be waiting at home, kissing him goodbye before leaping away. Noah is left completely puzzled by this, but is immediately brought back to reality by Anna's sudden appearance. The girl asks him what happened, and when he expresses his confusion, they both hear static followed by a familiar voice. The Pope notes that he never thought that Noah was an actual part of this world, regretting not ending Eve, as a screen comes to life showing a virtual representation of himself. He explains that he managed to live more than 100 years by removing the shackles of his body, keeping his essence in a core, while transferring it to different containers. He also reveals that Eve is the same, having made herself the core of the world's system, and returning by using the demon race as a spare body. Bewildered, Noah asks if that was really his mom, but the Pope is not certain if you can consider that real or not, wondering if one would still have a personality after living for tens of thousands of years as the core of the system God-Emperor style. Noah has his doubts, however, having had the same feeling he had with Eve in the past. He is pulled from his thoughts by Ark, who insists that it is an emergency, and reports that the demons on the planet have become violent and are starting to attack the human countries. With the extermination protocol underway, the AI sends him a live video feed of the demons attacking the humans back at Anna's village. The base's intercom then comes to life, as the Pope's subordinates inform him that the demons who had infiltrated the facility are breaking through the outer walls and heading to the planet and ask for instructions. The Pope grimly notes it has begun, and Noah asks what his plan is, pointing out that he's been preparing for this fight. He replies that it is of no use, since the heroes were intended to be used before the system is activated. but now those stationed in the facility will soon be overpowered, and the place will fall. Anna then asks if this is related to Ellie going crazy back there, but the Pope instead reminisces of the years he spent with her, and describes them as the happiest of his life, being glad to see her face once more. He tells her to ask Noah for the details, hoping she will get out of reach of the system and survive. Remembering what Eve just told him, Noah asks Ark if he knows where he and his mom used to live, and when the AI confirms this, he declares his intention to go there, ordering it to get the ship ready. When the Pope asks what he intends to do, the cyborg reveals what his mother told him, certain she was telling the truth, and deciding to bet on the small hope that it is indeed so. As he and Anna turn to leave, the Pope tells them to wait, stating he has changed his mind, and knowing that Eve doesn't lie, asks to be let in on that bet, as he emerges from a hatch in the ceiling using a new and improved body. Having specified the coordinates of Eve's base, Ark provides Noah with a live feed of the place. Zooming in, they find the facility to be completely surrounded by flying demons, including their erstwhile friends. Faced with so many foes, Anna notes that it was him who said to go there, but he corrects her, stating that it was his mother who said to go if he wanted to stop her, meaning he would have to overcome the demons. Noah doesn't have a plan to deal with this, since the ship isn't built for combat, so all he can come up with is to charge in. The Pope is no better off than him, having only that one body ready since his base has already been destroyed by the demons who are still inside. He has an idea, however, believing they can do something about it with Anna's power. He then reminds the surprised girl that her power can interfere with the demons' consciousness and force them to fall asleep, neutralizing them without the need to fight. Anna points out that she can handle 10 people at most, but he explains that she is unconsciously conserving her power to avoid straining her brain. She could indeed defeat all of the demons if she used her full power, but that would cause her brain to fry and end her. That's where the Pope comes in, since his artificial brain can shoulder the magical burden of others and act as an amplifier. They will have to work together, but that would mean jumping right into the heart of the enemy forces, and if Anna were unable to give it her all that time, it would be an endgame for both of them. Noah tells her that she doesn't have to do it, but the girl nonetheless agrees with the plan, bravely stating that she will not be scared off after coming this far. Punching him in the shoulder, she reassures him, noting she has already put her body on the line for him once, telling him to go get the princess. As she leaves to go work on her magic, the Mecha Pope pulls Noah aside to tell him something, leaving the cyborg speechless. A few hours later, they arrive at Eve's facility, being immediately greeted by a swarm of demons. Once Anna and her father are ready, Noah orders Ark to route as much energy as possible to the ship's shields, as the ship charges headlong into their foes. The barriers withstand the first demon barrage, and though Ark fears they won't last long, Noah knows they just need to hold out until they arrive at their destination. As the battered ship barrels towards the base, Noah signals Mecha Pope and Anna to jump. As the demons begin to converge on them, the duo uses their combined power to charge a powerful blast. Anna grits her teeth, her body straining from the massive energy release. Her father tells her to release even more power, reassuring her that his current body is just a copy, and the girl complies, dropping the sun on the assembled demons. Soon enough, the creatures slump and fall from the sky, having been rendered unconscious by the psychic attack. Panting, Anna asks her father if they succeeded, only for them to fall as well, as the Pope's body begins to fail. After the rough landing, the girl rushes toward her malfunctioning father, asking if he's okay, calling him reckless despite this not being his real body. As she touches his cheek, however, the truth becomes all too clear. Glimpsing into his memories, she sees the Pope sharing his concern about Anna's fate after his demise to Noah. The cyborg is surprised by this remark, believing him to merely be using a spare body, but the Pope then notes that no one would be so dumb as to leave their main body in a place where it may be destroyed, revealing his current body to be the actual vessel holding his brain. Realizing the implications of this, Noah asks the Pope if what he's doing is really okay. He replies he's been looking for a place to die for a long time, also asking him not to say anything to Anna, since her kind heart would jeopardize the mission. Having seen this, Anna asks her father why she didn't tell him, and realizing she has read his memory, he tells her that she has accomplished her original goal of stopping him, so she doesn't have to worry about it. Tearing up, she tells her father that she just wanted to be with him like before. In his final moments, the Pope imagines a scenario where such a future may have actually happened. Having landed the damaged spaceship, Noah enters his former home for the first time in 50,000 years. Walking down the metal hallways, he passes through its many rooms, reminiscing about the happy moments he spent there with his mother. He eventually reaches a large door, which slides open to reveal the Eve-possessed Ellie waiting for him, asking if he feels nostalgic after visiting home for the first time in a long time. Smiling, Eve welcomes Noah back home. Still processing the situation, he asks her if she is really his mother, which she confirms, asking if he wants her to prove it. Noah gets straight to the point, however, so she merrily declares that she must reward him for getting this far. Twirling her finger, she offers to tell him about this world and why she's there, which he accepts. Stepping up from her seat, she explains that she created the world and will restore the Earth to the way it used to be, telling him to let it play out the way it's supposed to and asking if he wouldn't hate if the world turned out like it did before. She then explains that she gave the power of magic to the next human race and made it convenient for them to use on their own, to prevent them from developing science and technology. Even then, she couldn't be certain that things wouldn't stray from her plotted path, so she created the demons as a life form intended to manage the world. Noah then points out that the Pope said pretty much the same thing, demanding to know why she sent him to this world. Eve then grins, noting that he is intended to be the vaccine for this world. No matter how much the world is monitored, someday there may be a threat the system cannot handle, so in order to be able to deal with such threats, Eve made sure to have irregularities occur on a regular basis. She declares him to be a vaccine for the whole planet, stating that to be the mission set for all of them. Noah is confused by that last statement, but with a snap of her fingers, Eve shines a light on the matter, powering up the chamber's overhead lamps. Horrified, Noah sees the walls are lined up with 8 tanks, holding different cyborgs in different states of destruction. Shocked, Noah asks if they're all alive, approaching one that bears a striking resemblance to himself. Eve reveals his name to have been Agni, explaining that, unlike Noah, he chose to befriend humanity. The next specimen, a girl named Hera, was timid and innocent and believed in Eve until the very end when she was slain, while another cyborg named Rode managed to create a strong army of modified humans that almost defeated the system. As a distraught Noah realizes that he wasn't the only one, Eve happily declares they're all her beautiful children, as well as his siblings. Horrified, Noah notes there must have been a more efficient way to achieve her aims, asking why she would use such a roundabout method. Coldly, the architect of an entire world declares that she did it because it wasn't fair. She dislikes one-sided domination like they had on the previous world, so she prepared trump cards like Noah. She reveals that there are a number of ways to surpass the demons and their magic, since even these powerful beings have their weaknesses. There have been a lot of chances for humanity to win, but the system has not lost yet. Clapping her hands, she asks if he is satisfied, and declares it is time for the final showdown, unbuttoning her vest and declaring that the next opportunity to defeat the system is now. Crackling with energy, Ellie's body is slowly encased by a full exoskeleton, as Eve challenges Noah to settle this there and then, hoping they both give it their best. Striding towards Noah, Eve explains the rules to him. If he beats her, everything will go back to normal, and the purge event will stop. But if she beats him, the world will remain under control, and the system will follow its course. But she cannot stop now. She proceeds to throw him through a door and into a cavernous space, striking once more and smashing a huge beam as the cyborg dodges the attack. The next punch finds its mark, sending Noah crashing against a wall, and Eve tells him that this will be over before he knows it if he doesn't resist. Cursing, Noah accepts that he must fight, earning praise from his mother. As he darts forward, she notes that his body is made to respond to his will, blocking his punch while declaring that he can win if he really wants to beat her and save the world, something that his siblings were unable to do even in the end. Taunting him, she asks if he wants to save the world, and the cyborg's cherished vest rips open, as he declares his resolve and his body reacts accordingly. Dashing forward, Noah delivers a lightning-quick barrage of punches, finally overcoming Eve's defenses and pushing her backwards. She responds with directed energy attacks, all of which are blocked by Noah, and praises his renewed determination as he darts towards her. Grabbing his faceplate, she proceeds to smash him to the ground, while noting that it looks like it won't work this time either. Pinning him down, Eve notes that he's probably wondering why his body isn't working despite his feelings being real, and if this is all set up so that he cannot win, instead declaring that in reality, he just doesn't want to triumph. Noah furiously rejects this, pushing her away, but she continues to taunt him, stating that the way he thinks and feels is so because she made it that way. Eve compares him to the protagonist of a boring story, wanting to help those in need and save the world when it is in danger, and declares that it is so because that is how she made him. While the cyborg struggles with this, his mother bluntly asks if he really wants to save the world. Everything comes to a standstill as Noah tries to answer. Wishing to wrap things up, Eve breaks the impasse, charging up a final attack, Dashing at breakneck speed, she rushes past Noah and comes to a halt on the other side, holding his severed head in one hand. Disappointingly noting it wasn't a very memorable fight. Holding Noah's head, Eve notes that he remains offline, and concludes that he has finally given up. Hugging him, she tells him to sleep well, and notes that once again, humanity could not be saved. Still alive, Noah recalls his mother's final question, and wonders to himself why he couldn't answer when she asked, asking himself what he wants. A few months earlier, back in the spaceship, Ellie eats her way through Noah's stores, asking him if he planned to unravel the mysteries of the world. He confirms this, noting that he's lately been thinking on whether the fact that he was created as part of an experiment means that all of his thoughts and desires were created by someone else, prompting the existential question about what he really wants to do. She dismisses his deep questions as weird, pointing out that everyone is made by someone else, including herself, having been made by her mom and dad. Brushing over the somewhat embarrassing topic, she holds her hand to her chest and proclaims that the version of herself standing there before him was also created by the influence of someone else, meaning that, in reality, they're the same. The way she sees it, people are made up of a mixture of various things, so Noah will surely find something that he really wants, maybe sooner than he thinks. Taking comfort in her words, he asks her for an example, and though she initially asks for 10 more bowls of rice, Ellie then grows sadder, as she shares her desire to see her mother once again. Reliving this memory, Noah's eye flashes on, and his body dashes to retrieve its head. Complete once again, the body transforms according to his indomitable will, channeling an insane amount of power as he prepares to rejoin the fight. Eve notes that he has finally made up his mind, finding it great, believing he is doing it for the sake of the world. But before she can continue, he interrupts her. Furious, he declares he will not stop her for the sake of the world, demons, or humans, refusing to answer when his mother asks what feelings are driving him right now. Snapping her hands, she proceeds to test how strong these new feelings really are, firing a powerful energy blast in his direction. His fingers tremble with power as he raises his hand and snaps the attack away, effortlessly dissipating it. Eve then charges forward, releasing a barrage of lightning-fast punches in an attempt to overcome his defense. While effortlessly blocking the strikes, he comments that even if everything about himself was made by her, and even if she thinks he's part of the system, he was happy. Turning to the offensive, he zooms in and delivers a single punch, defeating his mother and expressing his happiness, before swiftly striking once more with such force that the entire magical exoskeleton protecting Ellie's body crumbles away. Eve falls to the ground, a surprised look on her face, and as Noah grabs her, he remembers Ellie's wish to see her mother so she could tell her, "Thank you," thanking his mother in turn. Reaching for his head, she embraces him and congratulates him for his achievement, surprised that she was ultimately defeated by a child who cares more about his parents than the fate of the world, finding it quite romantic. She smiles at this, and Eve proceeds to go into sleep once more while leaving the fate of the world in his hands. Sometime later, Ellie wakes up with Noah sitting right next to her. The confused girl asks him what happened, to which he replies, "It is all finally over." The victory, however, was not without loss, since both the Pope and Beryl perished helping those they loved. Maybe the destruction of the previous world came about from someone's small wish. In order to protect the smiles of family and loved ones, the world would be destroyed, and families would be destroyed to protect the world. Despite the loss, Noah smiles, knowing that the cycle has been broken. 50 years later, technology has taken hold on the world. A news anchor on a holographic screen announces the upcoming production of a full-length movie based on the historical facts that took place half a century earlier, informing the crowds that Isekai Tensei will be released that winter. A half-human child notes that the actor does not look like his grandparent at all, hoping they could recreate him with CGI or magic. But his cousin notes that it would be hard to see their grandfather's expressions if they used his face as it is. They then receive a message from their grandpa cyborg, stating he will be unable to pick them up because of his schedule. So the kids decide to walk there. Seeing a combination of flying cars and magic users, the boy wishes he could fly with the magic as well, while the girl wonders if their grandfather will let him get his driver's license early if she asks, since it would be faster to get a driver's license than it would be to learn flying magic. He insists that it would be so much better flying on his own, but she pays him no mind, suddenly stopping at a cafe and rushing inside to buy some Mont Blanc dessert. While eating their desserts, the boy asks why he was called out there, when she is the one living there, annoyed that she just told him to come without any explanation. She finds it cute that he came anyway, and reveals that she called him there because they're getting a physical exam. She explains that the same thing happened to their mothers due to their grandpa's special body, which almost caused her mom to perish when she was a child. They will do a full checkup just to be safe, but she assures him that she has not experienced anything strange so far. So this will be a story of a sweet grandchild going to see her lonely and mostly retired grandparents. They then follow a GPS map to an alley, surprised that it misled them there, and turn to see another girl asking if they're also lost. None of them recognize her, and noting the strange situation, the siblings become excited at the prospect of having encountered a ghost and having to fight it. The girl reassures them she's a real person, but the first child slaps her just to be sure, before asking what she wants. Shyly, she reveals that she was also misled by the map to that direction, so the cousins offer her to go with them to the station. They proceed to tour around the city, having a blast with the many detours until finally arriving at the station. The smaller girl thanks the cousins for showing her around, and the girl tells her to rest in peace before turning to see their grandparents arrive. Having become worried after they failed to show up, the elderly Noah and Ellie went out looking for their grandkids, but when the girl explained they were escorting the lost child, she confirms to her surprise that she is already gone. The cousins take this as a confirmation that she was indeed a ghost, getting all riled up because of it, and Ellie notes how energetic they are. Dangling her feet on a ledge, the small girl looks at the picture and smiles. Now sporting Eve's signature hairdo, she contemplates the skyline and notes that this isn't so bad. Sensing his mother, Noah smiles, causing the children to wonder if he also saw a ghost. Denying this, he turns away and returns to his family, glad about the future he created.